Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And we want to hear from you this year. We want to make our podcast your podcast. Tell us your story. If you've got something interesting or exciting to share, go to letsgotennis.com/my story and tell us your story. Be entered to win some cool stuff. Today, mental training for peak performance with Dr. Patrick Cohn. We are going to dive into a couple of case studies. We want to look at a player, and because I'm a male, it's easier for me to identify with the male player. So let's translate out to a female if we need to here. But in this case, the two examples I have, we're going to anonymize the name so we know we're not talking about anybody specifically. But the first player we're going to call Alex. And Alex is a perfectionist. So, Doc, you say that's actually a bad thing. When I picture a perfectionism, that isn't practice makes perfect kind of concept. This isn't I'm being really good at what I do. Perfectionism is actually a negative. Talk to me about that.
Well, it has positive and negative characteristics.
Okay.
So perfectionists tend to be very goal-oriented. They're going to work hard. They're going to practice. They're going to take lessons. They're going to do everything they can to improve their fitness and their game. That's the positive part about perfection. Many professional athletes are perfectionists. You think of someone like, Serena Williams or Roger Federer. I mean, straight out perfectionist. Djokovic, perfectionist, right? However, they don't have the downside that many perfectionists do. And that's where the negative part comes in. When athletes or tennis players, in this case, have perfectionist qualities, they get upset very easy when they don't play to their expectations. So they have very high expectations, they get upset, they start to question themselves, they're often stuck in a training mindset, which we've talked about in previous podcasts. They tend to worry about what others think. There's a very specific profile that we see because we work with a lot of perfectionist athletes here at Peak Performance Sports. So there's a ton of challenges when they go and compete because they have such high expectations and are so hard on themselves.
And as a couple of examples, if I've got that high expectation and this Alex player is just really expecting himself to make every shot, and where if you miss one, it's just completely unacceptable. Is that the concept?
Yes, and it goes deeper than that. Not only do they have to make their shots in the court, it has to feel good off the racket, and it has to look good in the air. So I call that the triple whammy for perfectionists. It has to feel good, the swing, the contact. It has to be clean all the time, right? And then the ball flight has to do what they're expecting it to do, and obviously land in the court. Yes, so it's a triple whammy.
So this is the player that can actually get upset after accidentally winning a point.
Yes, they could shank a ball and get upset with shanking the ball, but accidentally win that point.
That's fantastic, because I'm the opposite type of player, and I wanted to ask, what's the opposite of perfectionism? Because if I look at and maybe there's not an actual exact opposite, but the other end of the spectrum where I might end up coming in and not really be all that competitive that day and just kind of playing for fun. And if I'm playing with Alex, then we kind of have this awkward balance of Alex thinking about smashing his racket because it just doesn't feel good, even though we're up a set and a break. And I'm just kind of moseying along through the match, not really acting like I care.
Yes, it's someone that doesn't take it seriously, doesn't care, isn't trying to be perfect. The stars don't have to align for that player. That player's probably going to have more fun and maybe not dedicated to practice and improvement at all.
Okay, but it's not really an opposite scenario. It's just a different issue to struggle with.
Well, there is an opposite. It's someone that doesn't have the motivation and drive to be as good as they can be, and is just more out there to have fun and get some exercise. They're not super competitive.
Got it. Okay, so there's a time frame for that, and I've suffered with that myself periodically of realizing, you know what, I haven't been playing well recently, so I'm just going to lower my own standards. And that way I can still enjoy myself and be okay with whether or not I lose, In that case, it probably is almost self-perpetuating to say, well, there's a really good chance I lose if I'm perfectly okay with it because I'm not going to fight against it.
I would put that under kind of self-defeating behavior, Shaun.
Okay.
You're kind of defeating yourself with that, but you still sound like you're competitive, but yet to deal with the heartache, you're lowering your standards on the court so you can enjoy it more.
Got it. All right. Sorry, Alex. I took over Alex's question to make sure it was about me. But in that case,
When we're working with perfectionism, I assume you want me to talk a little about how to help perfectionists.
that would be wonderful.
Okay. So the antithesis to perfectionism is really playing functional tennis. That's a term that I adopted, that I coined. Playing functional tennis means you're okay with hitting let's say an unclean ball, but it landing in the court. And that you're okay with winning a point, but it doesn't matter how you win the point. So when we work with perfectionists, Shaun, there's a lot of things that we have to cover. We have to cover managing the expectations. So we have to identify that athlete's expectations, and we have to replace those expectations with things that are more manageable. For example, hitting the ball clean every single shot, forehand, backhand service, is just unmanageable. That's not reasonable. It's not realistic. So we would go to smaller things that we would want that player to do, like maybe let's just set up early for the shot, something like that. Something simple that's maybe more in their control that they can do 10 out of 10 times, or at least try to do 10 out of 10 times. We call those objectives or mini goals that they can do that replace the expectations. Then we have to work on the outcome thinking, because perfectionists tend to think about the outcome. And then we work on how to focus on the process, what it means to play one ball at a time, 1 point at a time, and defining that for them, in addition to defining what their top distractions or outcome thinking is for them, and then to be able to refocus when they get ahead of themselves and focus on outcome.
So you can actually distract the perfectionism by aiming it at something else to say, hey, I want you to have perfect footwork in something within their control rather than needing perfect point of contact every time.
Wait a second. I didn't say perfect footwork. Now you're putting words in my mouth, Shaun.
Okay.
So no, I said get to the ball early. That says nothing about footwork at all.
Okay.
Footwork has to come naturally when you're playing a match. So be able to just think about getting to the ball and setting up early.
Okay,
Just
but
get there quickly.
setting up
Get there
early,
quickly.
I can be in control of. That's kind of the question I was asking. I'd find
Yes,
that
you can be in
perfectionist and
control,
put him in control.
but we don't
of
want to
something.
replace one perfection trait with another perfection.
Good point. Yep.
Focus,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Okay.
But you're right. Yeah, we want to replace that. We want to distract you could say, the perfectionist by focusing on things that are a little bit smaller and more under their control and more process oriented, that are more one ball, 1 point at a time.
Control the things you can control, and maybe that
Yes.
concept helps them.
Then we have to work on proactive confidence, or what we call proactive confidence or stable confidence, because with every miss, they're on the confidence roller coaster. You know, they confidence will go down, but then a good shot confidence goes up. So that's not healthy. So we work on stabilizing the confidence. Then a biggie is helping them trust in their strokes and not steer and guided out there and try to be so perfect with their strokes that they forget about playing tactical tennis. You know, because you get lost in stroke instead of tactics. And that's when you play a match, it should be more about tactics than stroke.
And in that case, that makes me wonder if the perfectionist is always questioning a technique. They're always not really trusting that it's perfect because nothing really ever is.
Correct. Yeah. You're not going to hit it clean all the time. And if you don't hit it clean, then a perfectionist is going to go to, what did I do wrong? And then they start fixing and fiddling.
You can't not think about it, right?
Yeah. Hard for them to let it go, reset, and just, okay, let's go next point.
Yeah, and to be able to do that turn, get to the towel, which is one of the things I've liked about our conversations. I'd had that thought of, okay, if I can complain about it till I get to the towel or whatever you're triggered to turn back and say the next point is all that matters. The past isn't relevant anymore, and be able to take that perfectionism into the next point as a positive thing, as opposed to complaining about the last one.
Well, once again, you're using the word perfectionism, so I'm going to shoot you down there.
Okay.
Going into the next point with more of a functional mindset, that the goal is just to win points. It's not how I look. It's not how I feel. It's not how the contact feels. It's just getting the ball in the court and working your tactics the best that you can that day with the stroke that you have that day, and not stressing about playing perfect tennis. So it's really going to the next point with a mindset of acceptance that you're not going to be perfect, and that's okay.
So my self-awareness is not simply reminding myself that I am this way and I have to be a different way. I need to be self-aware that I'm focused on the functional tennis of what I'm working on and my proactive confidence.
Correct. Yes. There you
Finally
go.
I got something right. Finally got some of this right. Okay.
I have to correct you.
No, I appreciate that. That's why you're here.
on
That's
track.
good. That is good. All right. So the perfectionist is one thing. Now we've covered me a little bit in my, maybe I can just kind of not care, because if I pretend to not care, that way if I'm not successful, it's okay. I didn't really care in the first place, which is kind of my 9-year-old boy way to look at my tennis matches. But then I've also got another anonymized player named Matt, and I should just call everybody Matt because we've got like 5 Matts on our tennis team. He can double fault once and he's fine, because that's okay. Everybody double faults every once in a while. But if he double faults a greater than one amount of times, he can easily lose his mind and decide he hates tennis and he never wants to play again. And the quickest way to get home is to lose the match. What am I dealing with there? What kind of Matt is that?
Well, it sounds like Matt's tanking a little bit because he feels like he doesn't have a service game. The thing you have to look at is Matt, is he able to execute a serve? Can he hit 9 out of 10 in the box or 8 out of 10 in the box in practice? But then when he goes to the match, all of a sudden his stroke starts to shorten up, or he's doing something different. He feels a lot of pressure to get the serve in, and thus now he's double faulting more. So that's a mental game issue. But if you told me, Matt, he's missing him in practice, then it's more like, well, he needs to work on the physical aspects and work on his consistency of his action so he can get more in the box, right? But let's assume that it's a mental game challenge. That type of player knows that he's going to win or lose based upon his service game. And then when he starts to double fault, and I call it giving away games by double faulting, his service, then that really upsets that player, because he knows, or she knows. By the way, I don't separate really males and females, or women and men. It's all the same for us when it comes to the mental game.
Really?
Yes, it's all the same challenges.
Oh, all right. So let's set that to
that's
another
for
conversation.
Topic,
because I would love to have that conversation.
Yeah. Mental skills are mental skills. It doesn't matter. So back to Matt. Sorry for the diversion there.
No, that's good.
Back to Matt. He knows that double faulting is going to be his nemesis, and he's probably going to lose. Now, the tanking part is the more difficult part, because he would rather give up. Well, why? Why do players tank? If I don't try and I fail, then it's okay, right? I just didn't try. It's an excuse. It's an out.
Yep.
Players do it either consciously or subconsciously. I don't know, but I've seen many tanks out there in the junior tennis world where someone will lose a tiebreaker in the first set, try really hard, and then just kind of throw their arms up and say, I can't win the second set, so I'm not going to try. And then if I don't try, it's okay if I lose, right? So that's Matt's modus operandi. He knows that getting a serve in is going to be very important for him winning. He badly wants to win. He'll get frustrated and eventually might even tank if he's throwing away games.
And he knows that. and that's part of the problem. That's I go in and that's me. That's just me. It's how I am. There's nothing I can do about it. And I think is that wrong thinking because we should be able to adjust what we're capable of to be able to say, hey, I lost a tight first set, or we won the first set, we lose the second set. You know what? It's the third set. I'm sick of this. This is frustrating. I haven't had a good day in general. I've played with a Matt before that has done this and had to really just drag him from the depths of hating everything to try to get him back into caring. Now, in a doubles match, it might be a little bit easier because you might have a partner that can say, hey, snap out of it. Whatever it is, that partner is going to help you out. In a singles match, you could just be, you know what, I can get out of here in 15 minutes if I lose the next 6 games.
It's definitely faulty thinking. We call it an overgeneralization. We call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you want to label it, right? They talk themselves into, this is just not my day.
Yeah.
And when an athlete gets to that point, this is not my day, they reach a point of helplessness. In the psychology literature, it's called learned helplessness. And it's like, I can't do anything to dig myself out of this hole. I might as well just tank, right? So yes, it is very much faulty thinking, and you have to help the athlete identify that faulty thinking and replace it with a healthier way of thinking about that. 1 or 2 double faults doesn't necessarily mean you're going to throw the entire match, but you can certainly talk yourself into it.
Yeah, it'd end up there easily. So give me a couple of things, or at least one, something that I can tell Matt, or pretend I'm Matt. Tell me, what do I do? I'm just in that depths of despair. I hate it. I'm done. How can I decide? And this is the thing. I think even in humanistic points of view, it's, well, you know what? Your brain keeps clicking and there's nothing you can do. You just have to follow it. But can I be the type of person that can just, you know what? No, I'm going to keep trudging through this hell that I'm in. And I'm going to get through the other side, and I'm going to hope it happens before I lose, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to fight my way out of it if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah, and that's the key. It's not hell. Like,
Okay.
you have to start from the perspective, it's 2 points out of the entire match. So it depends on his level.
Oh, but it feels like hell.
I would say,
it feels like hell, Doc. 2 points.
I would say, how many points are we going to play in the match? We're going to play 40, 60, I don't know, in a doubles match. How many points are we going to play? I need to keep my head screwed on. I need to work really hard at getting my serve in. And that's where the trust comes in, to be able to trust in your service action. And that's where maybe you change your strategy, where you go to hitting 2 second serves to get it in the box. And that's what I would probably tell them. Let's just get it in the box and start the point and go from there. You might be at a little bit of a disadvantage if you give them an easy serve, but at least the point's going to start.
Better than double faulting, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really, I approach it as a cognitive process, Shaun, is I have to work with Matt's particular thought process of what makes that double fault so awful for him. And then I have to attack that, and I have to rationalize with him about that, and to replace that with some more healthy thinking instead of that faulty thinking that there's nothing I can do, here we go again.
Okay, so if I don't have that ability to just say, I can fight through this, if I'm battling that psychology that just says, I really want to give up on one side, but some of me does still want to win. So what if I fight and lose, and I did really try, and I have to go tell my friends I tried and lost? It'd be easier to just tell them, I tanked.
I guess. I think it's easy for him to just accept the loss. I'm not sure about telling other friends, but I think I can accept the loss that way, right? So,
because I think there's a social pressure. Sorry, there's my friends relying on me, and me, like you said,
yeah.
my version of that 9-year-old. If I didn't try, then it's not as bad.
It's replacing the automatic response, the automatic script that he has, the here we go agains, There's nothing I can do. I'm helpless. As you said, I'm in this hellhole, right? It's replacing the automatic script with some thoughts and feelings that are going to be more conducive to pressing on and continue to play functional tennis and just getting the job done. You as the partner want to work hard. You do want to work hard. Say, hey, it's just 1 point. Let it go. Hey, it's okay. We'll do well. Let's just keep pressing on. Let's just keep our head in the game. So the partner can help out with that as well, with some different thought processes that Matt can have.
That my friend still loves me, even though I double faulted.
Yes.
All right, so last question. A little bit of fake it till you make it is, why do I feel like I'm lying to myself if I can fight through this, say, no, it's okay. This isn't embarrassing. I'm 1 point at a time. The last point doesn't matter. How do I get past the feeling that I'm just lying to myself and that it's sarcasm of, oh, it's fine. The next point I can always come back, but I don't really believe it in the back of my mind. Does that question make sense?
Yes. Fake it till you make it. So I tell tennis players the first thing that you have to do is you have to put on your poker face, because you don't want your opponent to see that you're upset and you're about to give up on the match, right? So the outer appearance of fake it till you make it, like the what I call the poker face, like nothing's wrong. However, Shaun, that doesn't address what's going on the inside. You could be looking very composed and very happy and very confident, but on the inside you could be reeling, and that's going to have the same effect. So we have to work on the inside, as you said, that, well, I know I'm faking it, but that's a much better option than just showing your negative emotions and tanking right from the get-go, right? So you got to start somewhere. Fake it till you make it is a good place to start, by putting your poker face on, and hopefully that will lead to the inside of you feeling a little bit more composed on the inside as well. But you have to work with those thought processes about, here we go again, this always happens to me, we're going to lose this match, there's nothing I can do, I'm just going to double fault every service game away. You have to work on that faulty thinking.
All right, so you brought up poker face, which makes me think cards, and I've got 3 options in my tennis card game. I either have the cards or I don't. And if I have the cards, I'm confident, I'm playing well, I feel good about myself, everything's fine. That's easy to have that poker face that I'm good to go. If I don't have the cards, I have 2 options. I can put on that face like I do have the cards, and I can bluff and keep doing that to make sure my opponent doesn't know I'm down. Or I can fold and I get out. I think my first 2 options are best. At least I'm still in the game.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I got another thing right.
Shaun.
I got another thing right. I'll take it. Doc, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been Mental Training for Peak Performance. We will see you for at least 1 more week next week. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thank you.